are the platform that actually simplify the renewable energy sector for you. So wherever you're coming from, whether you're an investor, you're looking to find out more insights so you know how to deploy your money, we definitely the platform for you. Or you're a professional, you want to get into the sector, rest assured, you can definitely reach out to us. We give you more information. Or if you are a business, you're looking to decarbonize your operation, I believe you may be interested by this particular interview that we're just going to have in a minute. But what I just want to say is actually, if you are interested in renewables in Africa, there's 3 ways we want you to connect. First of all, we wanted just to connect to all our platforms, because normally we broadcast from 5 platforms. We have LinkedIn, we have YouTube, we have Facebook, we have Twitter, and we have Telegram. We definitely want to sign up to all of them if possible, or even if you just want, that's okay. The second way, we want you to leave a comment. Let us know what you think about those interviews, what is your viewpoint, and we'll be happy to take that into consideration. And the third point, just share and spread the word across you. So the interview that I want to have today, it's very interesting. Why? Because as you can imagine, with the pandemics, we've been going virtual, right? And it's not going to change anytime soon. Even though the pandemic now has eased off, we're still going to have some habits. So going virtual means that IT is going to have a lot of a job to do. It means as well that IT power is just going to be growing, and the importance of data center, I can't talk a lot about that, right? And just to look at these specific topics, so I want to bring on to you, so a gentleman's working for a company that most of you would have heard about, Schneider, but I'm not going to tell you more about him and or them for now, because I just want to give him the opportunity to do so. So let me just welcome Jonathan Duncan. So Jonathan, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you very well. Thank you, Tony.
Excellent. So Jonathan, listen, it's a pleasure for me to have you, because I'm always taking pride to bring into the platform expert into the field to give us more insight. Because for me, I just have a little bit of knowledge about data center, but I know that with you, I feel in good company. So just for people that don't know you much, right? So would you mind, please, in few words, introducing yourself and also the company? That'd be great, please.
Perfect. Thank you. Firstly, I think you're selling yourself short, but anyway, so I'm Jonathan Duncan. I work for Schneider Electric. I lead the Secure Power business unit for English-speaking Africa. Schneider's quite a vast organization, and just happens that the Secure Power business unit is tasked with leading or governing, not governing, but yeah, leading the cloud and service provider segment, as we call it, which is the big data center market. And as such, yeah, I'm heavily involved in data centers from end to end as per our portfolio of products across the application.
Excellent. That's brilliant. So just before we dive into the conversation a little bit more deeper, so can you just explain in few words, because there's some people, I'm sure they would have heard about data center, but they don't really understand how really does it work. Could you explain that in few words, please?
Yeah, so it's not witchcraft. It's what's happening is every time you click a button on your computer or on your phone and upload a picture to Twitter or whatever, where do you think that information is going, or those images? They're all being processed through data centers and hosted or kept. That information is located in those data centers. So as we generate more and more IT information and traffic, it's got to go somewhere, be hosted somewhere, usually be looked at, analyzed. The raw data, metadata is then generated as to halfway conclusions as to what should happen with this information, and other algorithms run, and then they draw conclusions. So basically, a data center, to me, it's almost a warehouse for all that information that's coming from, could be sensors in a production line, through to the intelligent vehicles that you're driving. You plug it in, you upload all the diagnostics, all that information goes into a data center somewhere, through to a simple thing of your local home use consumption. If you're using a wiser type solution and you're monitoring how efficient is your home, all that information generally ends up in a cloud somewhere or a data center. And that's the function of the data center.
Yeah, it looks like, so what you're telling me, just because we can't imagine our life now without computer, without IT, we can imagine our life now without data center, in a sense, yeah?
Yeah, 100%. And the volume of traffic is just exponentially growing. And I think that's the biggest driver that's hitting us hard this year, and why we see such rapid growth in the market of the big data center players coming into remote or not so remote parts of Africa, but where you would normally have not thought them to be coming. Today, the volume of data is necessitating that they do come into our markets. So we're seeing it, and it's a good problem to have. Access to energy is always a challenge, as we know, especially South Africa and Nigeria and certain countries where we maybe have an oversubscription to the power authorities. But it's a requirement that has to happen, and whether we like it or not, these big data centers are coming, and we need them. To make life simpler, we need them.
Excellent. In fact, you were actually already stepping to the next question, which is actually great, because I was going to ask you, so what are the key challenges that we're seeing today in data center? I think you clearly talk about the power of the issue of power, so energy. We need energy. So you also refer to the fact that now the IT demand, it's growing. So the scalability, I guess that will be two of the main challenges. Are there other challenges that do you see that as
there's many. Look, many of, often when we look at Africa, we tend to think that we're a little bit behind the rest of the world in terms of, how mature the mature markets, as they like to be determined, almost implying that we're an immature market. Yet, when the way to operate in Africa is sometimes a lot more complex than what it would be in Europe. Having said that, though, because we are in Africa playing almost a catch-up in the data center segment, we do have the possibility to leapfrog many of the stages of technology that Europe has gone through, for example, and the US, and deploy today very high efficient solutions right from the onset. It's a bit of a challenge, though, in terms of power. We see some of the power authorities do not have the capacity to accommodate these data centers. Data centers are not sort of fluctuating demand. Typically, when they come in and they say, I want to run 40 megawatts, they want to run 40 megawatts, and they'll consume that continuously. And this is where sort of the challenge of what is available power. If I have to run on a diesel generator solution, for example, is that then going to be efficient? And how do we sort of negotiate with private power providers or the local authorities to get energy, and how much will be available, where, when, and the distribution network can it accommodate? So there's a lot of challenges around power per se. Then there's the traditional issues of land. I want to be fairly close to the urban areas which I'll be serving in a data center. How much will it cost? Can I be there? Connectivity is obviously paramount. There's no point in putting a data center somewhere it's not connected to its consumers or producers of data. Another big one which we see, and it's very prevalent to Africa, is human capital. Where are my human skilled resources? It's a scarcity, and that's one of the bigger challenges I see coming in Africa at the moment.
Okay. There's definitely quite a few there. So you definitely talk about power. You talk about the connectivity and also human scarcity. That's fine. So talking about power, just for a moment there, because obviously, as you know, so renewables in Africa, we have a particular interest into that. So how much the industry is doing to green the IT power?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and there's a lot of focus on it globally to be carbon neutrality, aspiring towards that direction. Lots of our bigger partners and data center customers, they are very, very strict policies to drive and go for carbon neutrality by certain periods of time, depends on which organization. But all of the big guys, I can say without hesitation, have a very defined and strict mandate that they are going to adhere to. Coming to Africa, that makes it a little bit difficult because we don't really have a hell of a lot of renewable energy available at the moment. We don't have masses of wind turbines or sea-based wind turbines, solar farms. It's a game where we will have to play catch up, but it's going to be something, and it's definitely going to be a part of the decision-making criteria for many of the big cloud players. Where do they invest in Africa? Is there availability of clean, renewable power? Because it's part of their mandate to be carbon neutral. If not, can they offset their operation, let's say, in one locality by being very clean in other localities? And this is going to be a game that they're going to have to play and balance.
Okay, that's great what you just told me there. So you essentially you telling me that there's a big opportunity with data center who looking actually to go carbon neutral, but they're lacking some green power. So that means, because most of the time what we had in the power sector, so for those big projects, so they can't be connected to the grid because most of the time grid operators are not that, I would say, financially sound. But what you're saying is actually there is a good opportunity there to working with big player in the IT sector to provide them the power they need to run the data center. Basically, they could become like an off-taker for the power. So that's one thing clearly that I wasn't really aware of. So I'm glad we're talking.
No, it's a big driver for them. I mean, I was fortunate to have worked in Europe a while back, and whilst there, you know, for me, I was amazed at the focus on renewable energy and clean energies. So it's we're in the same globe. We live on the same planet, so we've got the same mandate, and it's how we're going to accommodate that. Africa, as you say, you know, and I think there's a big opportunity for these new private power providers to come forward and start off these big solar farms, selling back into the grid sometimes just from a distribution point of view to get into your customers or our customers, but also, you know, localized farms, solar farms, for example, attached to a data center. Why not?
Excellent. I think that's a great opportunity. Definitely, I'd like to have some further conversation on. So moving on, I'd like to talk a little bit more about Schneider, because you talked about the challenges that you mentioned that the industry is facing. And I was wondering whether you could talk about how do you handle that, you know, internally within the company, because Schneider it's a big name, and obviously, you know, Schneider for a few years now. And I was actually wondering from that standpoint, because identifying the challenges, that's one thing. Now being able to bring a response to that is another thing. And I was just curious to see, so how does a company do it?
Yeah, so Schneider's definitely in the same predicament as our customers. We need to make ourselves and our operations carbon neutral. We're heading in that direction. From your supply chain, from your products that you're making as well. We talk about circular economies, and from cradle to grave of a product, you'd like to be able to recycle again at the grave stage and reuse it. So we're focusing on reusable products, reusable plastics, for example, reusable packaging, the whole lifespan of the product from where we start to when it dies. You know, what is the CO2 footprint of that product? We publish this data. It's good news for the data center operators, because they would like to know, well, hang on, if I build a facility, what will be my CO2 footprint from day dot? How much has all of this products that I've employed in this facility contributed to global warming, for example, the CO2? And we focus heavily on that. We also go the mile on doing sustainability audits with our customers, and you know, it's in our blood basically to look at our footprint on all aspects. Global warming, unfortunately, is a reality, and I'm passionate about that personally. I can see the weather patterns changing almost everywhere you go, and we need to fix it now. I think it's our generation that's become aware of this challenge and this issue. And if we don't fix it now, it's going to be too late for our kids. So it's our responsibility to address it. So personally, I'm passionate about it. Happy to be in Schneider, because we're very focused on being carbon neutral and in all our operations. That's where we're heading.
Yeah, I think we were missing a few people like you at COP27, I can tell you.
I'm sure our guys were there, and I'm sure they were talking. But yeah, you know, yeah, it's a trade-off. You know, you've got business aspirations, but at the end of the day, you have to look at being carbon neutral, because there is no, you know, there isn't going to be a trade-off if the global warming just runs away. Then there won't be a globe that we can inhabit. So we have to address it. And
Exactly.
I think all big corporates, they have their mandates and they are striving for it. Certainly our big data center partners are definitely addressing the challenges.
Excellent. So just a couple of questions, if that's okay with you. I know that data center infrastructure management is a big thing. So we're hearing a lot about GCIM 3.0. And then I know there's also a new iteration of a software, that EcoStruxure, that you guys have developed. Clearly, like I say, I don't know enough about it, and I was wondering whether you can give us some more, insight into what it does, and obviously what is new about that, really, apart from the name, which is nice.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, Industry 2.0, and there's small iterations and changes as you go through your performance improvements. But basically, when we look at our data center software, we try to take a holistic view at the data center. So not just being, let's say, domain specific within the white space of the environment. We want to have a look at the entire facility, from the power landing in through the transformers, through, you know, every single, how can I say, every single transformation of the energy and its distribution. We want to be able to monitor. Then we also want to drive some analytics and using our global footprint and experience all over the world, plus you know, data derived from numerous sensors. We start to interpret that data and start running some analytics VIs on top of that. We then end up with a better data, a better utilization of that data and driving more analytical decision making. So instead of the old, well, let me try this and see what the impact is, we're going to be at that point where we know that in another facility we did this and it had that kind of result. If we start to bring all that data together, the AIs will sit on top of this, interpret it, we'll make a decision, make a change, we'll monitor. And once that change is stable, we'll understand what was the net impact. Have we achieved efficiency? Sometimes you focus on one element or area of a data center and you do efficiency optimization in that element, but you may be impacting somewhere else in the facility. So you've got to have this holistic bird's eye view and aggregate all data, all consuming elements of the data center to understand, if I move this, lift my set point of a chiller, for example, water point, what will be the impact in the room? Do my fans speed up? If they speed up, maybe I negate the benefit there. And it's only through this full 360 view on the data center that we will be able to optimize. And that's where the software comes in. Software never lies. It doesn't run on a hunch. It's binary. To pardon the pun, it's binary. It's either 1 or a 0, and it's going to have that meticulousness.
Excellent. I think I'm wishing you good luck with that. But it looks like definitely a good piece of product that you brought out there, and hopefully the industry will respond well to that. So, is it how you see the future of data center evolving? So what lies ahead for that, for the industry?
Yeah, for me, there's going to be more AIs in the data center. There'll be a lot more decision making that's taken away from the human element, which is prone to you know, emotion. It'll go more digital. We will be more connected. Almost every device in the operation where we can apply intelligence, we will apply intelligence. And from that, so many sample points, will be a lot more granular on how we can look at what's happening within that facility.
Yeah, excellent. I think, and I agree with you. We're going to be more and more connected. but it just also means that we need to be careful who controls those data because we're going to be also very, very, very vulnerable. That's a point I'm sure you guys are looking at very carefully.
Cybersecurity is not just a buzzword, and it's one of the big focuses within ourselves. Of course, as we are going into more and more intelligent connected devices, each of those devices in theory could become an access point for malware. So cybersecurity is paramount.
Absolutely. So just one last question for you, which is also touching on the point that you talk about when you were identifying the challenges. You talked about human capital. And then, you know, obviously one thing that the continent has, it's a lot of youth, right? So more than 60% of the African population, you know, it's is under 19, if I'm correct. It's a lot of people there, and a lot of them looking for opportunities for jobs. So how can we bring more of these guys in the industry? Because one of the things that you've identified is the human capital, right? That's the industry needs to address it. We need the skills as well, and we need the skills locally, right? To make sure that the industry grows locally. And I'm sure there's a lot of people watching this interview, young people, they will want to be Jonathan Duncan in the next 10, 15 years. So how can we basically open the door, make way for them to come into the industry and grow that?
Yeah, so I feel it's a responsibility of all big organizations to have training academies, and Schneider we do. Our role is to help uplift. It's, you know, you bring in graduates or newly qualified engineers, bring them on board, work with them, assist them. You know, obviously they're working for the company and we can't employ everyone, but that's part of our strategy. We are a bit of a school. I know that we have a certain attrition rate where we bring in talent, we lift them up, and then they migrate very often overseas, which is the brain drain that we see in Africa, which is sad. But, you know, bringing talent up to the level that is required today will be good for today. It may be obsolete for tomorrow because this industry is changing so fast and dynamic. So really, I don't have an answer to that. It's more as a corporate, you have a responsibility to uplift your communities and transfer knowledge. We have training academies, as I say. We have online platforms where people are we're happy for people to look at our data, look at the information we freely post, and it's part of uplifting the guys. Then there is obviously bodies that are doing, you know, certifications, legislations, and those are also good training entities to go and have a look at.
Yeah, thank you for that, Jonathan. I think we can definitely continue this conversation, you know, for hours and hours, but also have to be mindful of your time. You're very busy man. But what I could say is that I've learned a lot about data center today, so a lot more knowledgeable. So the challenges that you have identified, and also the software that you are developing at Schneider, that's quite exciting, and I'm sure the industry will be looking forward to that. I'm particularly keen to know that you're taking the issue of carbon neutrality very, very seriously. And then I really, really like the opportunity that you've identified there. So having a whole industry, the renewables energy industry, working closely with data centers, because there's a good opportunity there. And I can promise you that there's something that I'm going to take back to a few people that I'm talking to. So thank you very much for today. It was wonderful. And I'm hoping that we will be in touch to carry on with this conversation. So thank you very much, Jonathan.
Perfect, Tony. Thank you for your time as well. Pleasure speaking to you.
I appreciate that. And all the best with EcoStruxure.
Thank you very much. Cheers for now.
Bye. Okay, you've seen everything about our interview with Jonathan Duncan, and I'm sure you've been loving it. So we've been talking about data center. What is it they do exactly? How Schneider really run the system and making sure they're looking after the energy transition, and also discovering about their product, which is EcoStruxure. I'm hoping that you're going to be learning one or two things around that. So I just want to take a couple of seconds really just to acknowledge Schneider Electric. Why? Because the Schneider Electric, they has obviously earned, you know, their place recognized in the corporate Knights Global 100 awards, right, for the 11th year in a row. So you need to know that, and that is very, very important for you to understand that this award, which is a corporate night, Global 100, is been given by the Canadian Media and Research Company that will examine close to 7,000 companies worldwide, right, to determine the 1% most sustainable corporation, right? And the Global 100 methodology is based on 33 global key performance indicators, and that's very, very important to mention that. And actually, Schneider Electric, they've been featured, you know, for the 11th time since 2012, you know, so making in the top spot to 2021, and that's actually great. No, actually, in 2021 they were in the top spot, and now in the fourth spot. So that's actually something that I'm very much pleased to say. And like I say, when you have company doing good work, we need to be able to also say so. That's probably why you see Schneider Electric at COP27. They were actually one of the few companies to sort of advocate for a fair energy transition system, and also to see that while the foundation obviously has been pushing for partnership to encourage young people to get involved in the climate action. So that's what I wanted to say. So yeah, so thank you very much for watching us. And as I usually say, may the sun be with you. And don't forget our conversation on Friday, talking about renewables and money. Take care for now, and bye.